Hey guys, so we're in another filming location this week. We are in my office at the church, so welcome. This is Weekly Word, a devotion that is intended to help you better understand the Bible and to know how it applies to your life as young people. Today we're going to be taking a look at the subject of money from the book of Proverbs. There are a ton of verses that in Proverbs that address the issue of money and of finances. So today I want to look at just 3 of those verses, and so obviously it's not exhaustive. It's just a cursory glance at what Proverbs has to say about the issue of money, and I hope that it is helpful for you and for me. Okay? So the first verse that we're going to look at is Proverbs 10:4, and it says this: "A slack hand causes poverty, but the hand of the diligent makes rich." Okay, so here, basically what the writer of Proverbs is saying is that, hey, if you kind of tend towards laziness, if you tend towards sluggishness and cutting corners and not really working hard, then that is going to tend towards poverty. Okay? On the other hand, though, that if your hand is diligent, if you are a hard worker, and you put in the hours and you exert yourself to the point of exhaustion, then that tends towards financial success. Okay, so I want to be very clear that it's not saying, this isn't the promise. So it's not saying, hey, if you work really hard, it's going to guarantee you riches, or conversely, if you're lazy, it's going to definitely mean that you're poor or something like that. But Proverbs is just making general observations about life that if you are generally a hard worker, then that's going to lead towards financial success. And if you are a lazy person, that's going to lead you towards financial trouble. Okay, does that make sense? And the principle that I really want to draw out from this verse, as well as from some others in the book of Proverbs, as well as the Bible, is that the Bible very closely links your hard work with the earning of a living. Okay? In other words, what the Bible teaches is that the way that you and I are to earn a living, the way that you and I are to sustain ourselves at a financial and physical level, is by learning how to work hard in this life. Okay? And this is a really good word, I think, for young people, because I think sometimes young people think that the point of life is just to have fun and to play. And there's certainly a place in the Christian life for fun and play. But one of the primary things that you'll be doing as an adult is working hard through most of your days. Okay? And we really need to grasp this early on, because the earlier we can grasp this, I think the more successful we will be at life. Okay? We need to grasp that God has ordered this world in such a way that we are to work hard in order to earn a living, in order to be able to financially and otherwise provide for ourselves and for our family if we have one. Paul so closely links hard work with earning a living that he says that if you do not work, then you do not eat. Okay? That might sound harsh, but the Bible so closely ties these sort of things together that if you're lazy enough not to work when you could be working, then you don't really deserve to eat from Paul's perspective. Okay? I could say more about this, but friend, learn how to work hard at a young age, okay? It's not always tied to money. You could work hard in your studies, for example, at university, when you're making a very low wage, if at all. It could be that you learn how to work hard one day as a mother. So my wife, for example, for argument's sake, brings in no money into our household, but she works extremely hard taking care of our house and our 2 boys and looking after me as well. And so it's not always tied to money, but what God wants us to do in life is not just play, but to learn how to work hard and to learn how to put our hand to the plow, so to speak, and to get after the things that He desires for us to get after. Learn how to work hard, okay? The second passage that I want to turn to is Proverbs 18:10 and 11. It says this: "The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous man runs to it and is safe." And it says, "A rich man's wealth is his strong city, and like a high wall in his imagination." Okay? So it's saying, on the one hand, the righteous man runs to the Lord, and the Lord is his strong tower, and it is his refuge. Okay? That's where the righteous, that's where the godly go to for safety, for security, for refuge. But if you go to verse 11, it says, a rich man's wealth is his strong city, and like a high wall in his imagination. You see, the temptation for someone with a lot of wealth is to, rather than look to God for his security and safety and his refuge, he is able to look to his money and to his wealth. It says that for the rich man, his wealth is like a high wall in his imagination. And so I think what the writer of Proverbs is doing here is that he's saying that is what the rich man runs to. The rich man runs to his finances for security, for refuge, for a sense of safety. But it's kind of just all in his imagination. You see, because at the end of the day, riches and wealth are not going to give us ultimate security, ultimate safety, and ultimate confidence and hope. The only one that can do that in all the universe is God himself. And so friends, just be aware that if you make the pursuit of your life, money and wealth and all that it can give to you, it's not able to provide you the security, the confidence, and the stability that you long for in your soul. The only one that can do that for you is the Lord. Okay? So just be aware of that. And then last, as we turn to Proverbs 30, verses 8 and 9, I think this is such a helpful perspective as it relates to money. Okay, and I know that I'm moving through these fairly quickly, but one of my commitments in these videos is to be short. So Proverbs 30 verses 8 and 9, it says, remove far from me falsehood and lying. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with the food that is needful for me, lest I be full and deny you and say, who is the Lord? Or lest I be poor and steal and profane the name of my God. So what the writer of the Proverbs is saying here is that, hey, God, please give me neither poverty nor riches. And the reason why he says that is very insightful. He says that, hey, do not give to me poverty, because with poverty comes a set of temptations. And the particular temptation that he gets after here is that if I'm poor, then I might be tempted to steal and therefore profane the name of my God. God, if I am too impoverished, then I will be tempted to dishonor you because of my poverty. And secondly, he says that, hey, please don't give me too much either. And the temptation there is that I would be full and deny you and say, who is the Lord? If you're too rich, then you might be tempted to forget about God. If you're too rich, you might be tempted to find security in your wealth and therefore not really acknowledge your need for God. This is so wise. The writer of the Proverbs is saying, hey, God, please don't make me too poor and don't make me too rich, because at both ends of the spectrum there's a ton of temptation and I don't want to succumb to either of those on account of money. God, at the end of the day, I want to be faithful to you. God, at the end of the day, I desire to trust you, to have you as my refuge, and to honor you with the entirety of my life, including my finances. And I don't want my finances to get in between you and me, is what the writer of the Proverbs is getting after. I think it's awesome. Okay? I think what the writer of the Proverbs is saying, at the end of the day, hey, listen, the goal in life is not to be poor, obviously, and the goal in life is not to be rich either. The goal in life is to be faithful to God. The goal in life is to trust God, and the goal in life is to honor God with your life. And here's the beauty of it all, right? Because if you pursue God with all of your heart and everything that you've got, God will take care of your finances. He'll provide for you. He'll help you to manage it. He'll help you to be generous with it. He'll help you to be wise with it. Right? But if you pursue money, wealth, riches, and etc. as if it were your God, if you pursue it with all vigor and all might, then you know what it will do to you? It will greatly enslave you. it will have this death grip around your heart, and you will now become a servant or a slave of money, right? I think that's why the Apostle Paul says in the New Testament that the love of money is the root of all sorts of evil. Okay? So that's what we've got from Proverbs on the subject of money. All right, that is Weekly Word for today. This week's Bible reading will be through Genesis 13 through 24, so the next 12 chapters in the book of Genesis. And as always, if you have suggestions for future texts or topics, then please feel free to leave those in the comments, and they might feature in a future episode of Weekly Word. All right, guys, have a great week.